know, I'm convinced that people who played Tetris when they were younger are much better at packing cars. Just saying. All right, guys, we all ready to go? Yeah!
Yeah!
Sean.
Got myself in motion. I know that you understand.
San Diego!
San Diego!
Comic-Con! 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 Comic-Con!
10 hours later.
Guys, look.
Here we are at San Diego Comic-Con. The event serves as a hub for enthusiasts to celebrate their passion for entertainment and share in the excitement of upcoming releases and creative endeavors. And there is no lack of excitement from the VeVe fam here at the Marvel booth.
Now we're going to go to Peach Momoko, one of the top artists now, emerging artists of Marvel. Let's go this way. Hey, yo, David, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Peach, how are you? Good. I think you're busy first. Yeah, amazing. The best. Latest Scarlet Witch. I missed the cover. She sold the original cover yesterday. It just came out number 1. Love it.
So what makes her one of your favorite artists right now?
Well, you know, it's really good to see the East meets the West, right? You've got artists now, all different culture coming together, and her style of artwork is just very manga, cute. It's got a lot of flavor.
Today, we get to meet with some of the most influential figures in the collecting industry, starting with the owner of Torpedo Comics.
I was 12 years old, and a friend of mine and I would go every week. We had like a $5 allowance, and we used to go to the movies for the matinee. The ticket was like $2, and we'd have $3 left to buy a soda and a hot dog. And then one day, we'd seen pretty much every movie 2 or 3 times. Well, why don't we go to the comic store? You know, I had no idea that there were stores dedicated to the hobby. And we walked in, the proprietor had like a 25-cent bins, you know, so I would look through, and I found stuff I liked. That was it. That was the beginning of it. Started with just a handful of books, then it became a long box, then it became 2 long boxes. Eventually it became my furniture. There was a weekly paper called The Recycler, where you could put little ads in it, and you were allowed to do 2 ads for free. So I would put in my ads, somebody would come to the garage, pick out $20, $30 worth of books, and then I would use that money and go buy my new issues. Vegas was first. That was the first location we had. We used to sell at a place called Frank & Son's Warehouse, which is kind of like a swap meet for collectibles. Now I have a comic book that I write. It's called Essentia, and the crux of the story is there's a city that has this orb in it that came from outer space. We don't know why it came or why it's here, but there's properties within this orb that enable you to maintain youth. Everybody wants to live there. Everybody that has power or money or anything else. A lot of the story is like, what would people do if they were really afforded the opportunity to have 10,000 years of life, but only you? Not your wife, not your kids, just you. What would you do? Would you go? That's the question I want everybody to ask themselves. So like most people that collect, I think it has something to do with mental illness, obsessive compulsive disorder, whatever you want to call it. I want to have every issue. Back in the day, we wanted to read them. The only way to read them was to buy the issues. That's where it stemmed from. Then it became a commodity as well. At the end of the day, these are superheroes, and they have meaning to people, and they're inspiring to people.
Next, we wander over to meet with VincentZurzolo of Metropolis Collectibles, a man not lacking in excitement.
Collecting comic books started for me from before I could even read. I was a little boy sitting down looking at my big brother's comic books, not even knowing what the words meant or what the stories were about, but just being amazed by the colors and the characters and these super cool costumes. I go through elementary school, and just like people traded baseball cards. My buddies and I traded comic books. Through high school, I was the comic book kid. People would come up to me and say, hey, my uncle's got a collection. You want to buy it? I'd go and buy it. When I graduated college, I actually started buying and selling comic books on the streets of Manhattan. And I would set up 2 card tables with 8 boxes of comic books, people coming out of Wall Street and anybody walking by, and I would sell them my comic books. Then I started middlemaning warehouses of books back in the early 90s. And in 1999, I merged companies with my partner, Stephen Fischler, Metropolis Collectibles. We are the largest dealership for vintage comic books in the world. Nobody in the world can touch our inventory of well over 150,000 vintage comic books. In 2007, we started a second brand called Comic Connect. Comic Connect is the premier online auction site for vintage comic books and original art and a whole bunch of other categories of collectibles. We were the first company to sell a comic book for $1 million, first company to sell a comic book for 1.1, first company to sell a comic book for 1.5, 3.2, 4.2. We've done it all. Along with my partner, David Quinn, we are launching this incredible world of The Addiction. The Addiction is a story about second chances, and our main character, Dr. Nikki Tino, has been fighting drug addiction, and the drug cartels kidnap her, shoot her up with a cocktail of drugs. She goes through what a lifelong addict would go through in one night, and it kills her. The chemicals mix with her blood, bring her back to life, and she also has a very uncanny power. I still read comic books today. I have a box of comic books next to my bed, and I'm reading comic books when I go to sleep, or I'm reading them digitally on VeVe. What does it mean to be a collector at heart? You're a passionate person when it comes to being a steward or guardian of these collectibles, because you know what they say, you can't take it with you. So eventually you got to sell the stuff or pass it on or give it to a museum. But in this period of time where we're here on this earth, we have this responsibility to put these collections together. I just love sharing them with people and showing them what makes them so special. It's all what it's about when you're a collector.
All right, David, what are you getting?
Very super exclusive, first Funko collectible trading card booster box ever.
So you can.
There's like super chase cards in there, ultra hard to get.
There's a 1,000 promo cards.
1,000 promo cards.
Next, we have the pleasure of meeting VeVe Featured Artist Gary Baseman, who tells us a little bit about his collecting history.
My family had nothing to do with art, but as a little kid, I just started drawing and I had never stopped. I was so into like old Warner Brothers cartoons, Fleischer, Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat. Characters were always a very, very strong inspiration. So I would create my own. That was the whole idea, was to be unique. And how do you create something that no one else has ever created? Even the idea of being an artist, that your voice stood out, that you could make a difference in the world, make the world a better place. I've been collecting my whole life. I collected art to have it around me as inspiration for when I paint. So I collect old mannequin heads from the 30s and 40s, very odd photographs like people in masks from the 1920s and 30s, old Felix the Cat, Pete the Pup. I felt like they were pieces of art. When I was a little kid, the 2 things that I wanted to be when I grew up, 1 was always an artist, and 2 was a stuntman. I used to practice dying all the time. I would have my older brothers and my sister kill me over and over and over again. I love getting shot. I guess dealing with this sense of mortality, but as an artist, how do you become immortal? By leaving your mark, inspiring another generation. When I created Toby, he was a type of alter ego of mine. When I created him as a plush was when I was having a fine art exhibition. I had 200 of them that were signed and numbered. The only way to collect him was in an art gallery. The idea of him wasn't a toy, but he was a work of art. I started taking Toby around the world. He kind of opens up the door, and he's there to celebrate all different cultures. So then when VeVe and I collaborated, he was the perfect character. What I loved about VeVe was that they had the application of bringing your collectible into the real world. So you can use your camera and photograph him everywhere and anywhere. For me, collecting is like memories. It's the idea of being able to wrap them around you and have those reminders for not just of what you did in the past, but inspiration for the things I will create in the future.
Next, I'm so excited that we're making our way over to meet titan of the toy industry himself, Jeremy Padawer, who has some very exclusive new collectibles.
We're here today at Jazwares stand. Amazing Pokemon they're bringing out. Only 500 sets. The first partner Pokemon set with Pikachu. There's only 500 pieces. Stays at Comic Con. There you go.
There
One
it
of
is.
500 ever.
Wow. Look at that. There it is.
So my collecting journey started when I was 3 years old. My brother's 12 years older than me, and he took care of me as a little brother. He would take me to flea markets, he would take me to garage sales, and so at the age of 3, I got like $1 a week, and I would go spend it on things like coins and stamps and cards. That was in the 1970s, so my journey started a very long time ago. So as a true collector, I've kept almost everything that I've ever owned, including my VeVe and my Omi token. When you're starting a new company, the key is you cannot compete with other companies in a mature category and do exactly what they're doing. So for us, from a business perspective, we had to do something new. And the new thing at the time was focusing on other things like gaming and social-oriented platforms like YouTube. And that really set us apart. We were first to the table there. And we had brands like Pokemon and Squishmallows and AEW and Halo. And we just went where other people were not going at the time. And today, Jazwares is the 4th largest toy company. My collecting strategy is I look for opportunities where I have a particular fandom, and I think that it will have a 10 times return within 10 years. Not that I sell much, which I really don't, but that at some point in my life, I don't think I'm going to anchor my family with collectibles that they don't necessarily understand. But this is my life's passion and the thing that I like to do, and it's also an investment strategy as well. One thing that stands out to me is I have a first edition, first print Harry Potter hardback book. It's probably the best copy in the world. It was sold by Heritage Auctions about 4 years ago. And when I saw that sale, it went about 400% above the original estimate. I picked it up about 2 years ago on the secondary market, and I really don't think I'll regret that one. To me, being a collector at heart means that I have a purity of my objectives, that there is an integrity to what I'm doing in terms of my collecting, that I'm not looking to do any harm to other people while manufacturing or collecting myself. And that integrity is probably the most important part of being part of a toy company or starting a company in the digital space or the physical space. It all comes down to that for me. Collector at heart means integrity.
What a way to finish out this journey at San Diego Comic-Con. For some, collecting was about nostalgia or investment. Others maybe just wanted to own something special. For me, it's about the journey and the people you meet along the way, the memories you forge. Those will live with me forever. VeVe opened me up to a whole new community, new friends, new family. That's what it means to be a collector at heart.
Come on. You didn't think I was going to end it on that somber of a note, did you?
That's pretty good. What do you think we do with a season 2?